Does magnesium work? Does it help sleep? Is it a waste of money? Let's investigate the research so you can come to your own conclusion if you want to spend your own money on the new miracle supplement. Magnesium supplements come in many forms, magnesium citrate being the most popular. Yet today, we are focusing on the newcomer, magnesium glycinate, with its touted potential sleep-helping effects. So, what is magnesium glycinate? Magnesium glycinate, also called magnesium diglycinate or magnesium biglycinate, is a salt of magnesium bound to glycine, an amino acid. Glycine having its own supposed sleep-helping effects. Though to keep this focused, I won't go into those claims now, but I would take anything you hear with a pinch of salt and do your own research. It has been claimed by retailers and influencers, the most trusted sources of information, to benefit sleep, calm the mind, promote digestion, enhance mineral absorption, and boost energy production. All for the low price of £120 a year, give or take. Sleep being the key claim that I'll focus on today. So, let's get into the evidence for these amazing claims, as I'm sure they'll have the amazing evidence required to back them. Looking at the Nutrition Geeks website, the UK's #1 retailer for magnesium glycinate, they source this study as evidence for its effects on sleep. It records the impacts of magnesium glycinate on sleep by taking blood samples and asking subjects to provide their subjective sleep times. To break down this study's credibility and strength, let's first look at its methodology before considering its results. Let's start with the positives. It's a double-blind trial, will have good credibility as they reduce bias and have continuity as the drug is given to them and then the effects are measured. Now, with that positive out of the way, let's discuss some of the negatives. The study design itself has some issues for making the claim that magnesium glycinate improves sleep for everyone. Notably, the study only contains, to quote, elderly subjects, people around 65 years old. Though I'm not sure all 65-year-olds would call yourself elderly, but that's a side note. This makes it hard to claim that the supplement is broadly effective if it's only been tested on a single demographic. A second, arguably more crucial flaw is that it only selected people to be included if they were already not meeting the recommended daily intake of magnesium. In fact, they would be receiving less than 75% of the daily recommended intake. Now, to be fair, the subject's mean magnesium wasn't clinically low for receiving the supplements, but there is a nuance within magnesium measurements due to how it's stored within the body. So not everyone with low magnesium will have that show in the blood. However, by making the distinction of only including those not receiving enough magnesium through their diet, it limits the ability to say any findings could be carried over to those who intake a recommended amount of magnesium. This would include people who eat a lot of nuts, seeds, dairy, fruit, and vegetables, all food sources high in magnesium. Collectively, these issues limit the generalizability of the findings, and it's not fair to say it may affect a 15-year-old the same way it may affect a 30-year-old or a 65-year-old, or that it would affect someone going from a low magnesium intake to a recommended one compared to a recommended intake to a high one. To make the claim it helps sleep for all demographics from this study, even if the data was strong, would be inappropriate for these reasons. But now let's talk about the strength of the data when it comes to the main claim of helping sleep. Firstly, let's address the blood test results used, as they are less relevant to the effectiveness of the supplement. They found some increases in melatonin and a decrease in cortisol in those who took the supplements. Melatonin being a key hormone in sleep and cortisol being a stress hormone that may impact sleep. Looking good so far. However, unfortunately, this is where the data stops being persuading. Let's look at those differences in melatonin and cortisol a bit harder. The brackets next to the percentage change represents a spread of values around the mean used to interpret the strength of data. Crucially for cortisol, the spread contains positive values. This suggests that within a spread of plausible values for change, it may even increase the cortisol. This greatly reduces the strength of the claim that cortisol is reduced when taking magnesium. Now, the important stuff. If people taking it actually slept more. So what data would you expect to see in a supplement being touted for its amazing sleep impacts? Well, would it look like this? You may notice there's two graphs and be asking yourself why this is the case. And I don't know either. The study records total sleep time and sleep time separately, and completely fails to describe what either of these mean within the study, so your best guess is as good as mine. Nonetheless, looking at the sleep time graph, there is a visible difference. However, like the point with the cortisol, the recorded difference of plus 0.6 hours has a confidence interval of 0.7, meaning once again it goes negative and reduces the strength of the claim that it does increase sleep time. So this study does give some evidence, but it's far from strong and not enough to make a broad conclusion about its effects. So let's summarize what this study has shown. Now, to be fair, I've been very negative about this study, and I want to clarify, I don't dislike that this study has taken place, rather how the findings from it have been interpreted. It lays down a promising idea by providing some weak evidence that magnesium may have a positive effect on sleep in this very particular demographic. What is a very important step to incentivize further and stronger research on this topic. But that's the issue. This isn't that strong research. I forgot to mention earlier, it only included 46 people. Is a study on 46 people enough to make a widespread claim of a supplement's benefits? I'll leave that to you to answer. Larger studies on this topic are needed to back these claims, and to be honest, I would love if they were performed, as who doesn't want to be able to take a pill that improves your sleep? And now, this raises the question, if this study isn't that strong, why is it the one provided by the supplement company, trying to make the big bucks by selling it? Let's have a look at the other research available to see why they picked this one. In a recent meta-analysis, essentially a mathematical summary of multiple studies, they found, to quote, substandard evidence, and that within the studies there is a large amount of bias. Yet, took a measured opinion of saying that since magnesium is widely available and there isn't much risk to taking it, it may be worth trying for those struggling to sleep. A much less flashy and more honest sales pitch. Now, I've tried to provide a fair perspective from the evidence I found, and I'm sure you can see it's not as black and white as influencers say. I'll leave it up to you now to interpret the evidence I've provided. If you want to pay the £120 a year and give it a go, talk to your doctor, and then if they give it the go-ahead, try it. Or if you're happier spending that on something else, like, I don't know, 2 full tanks of petrol, that seems sensible. If you do struggle with sleep, you should seek advice from your doctor, and I've put a link in the description for an NHS website with guidance for sleep that is free and suggests free lifestyle changes that are evidence-backed to improve sleep. Thanks for watching.